Hi Year 10, welcome to Lesson 6 of Biomes. Today we'll be looking at a couple of different aspects of biomes, distinguishing between aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems, and looking at management strategies, traditional and contemporary. The first thing we're going to do is have a refresher around aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems, remembering that red is a definition and it can't be shortened, but everything else on this video you can write as a summary in your books. Don't forget to pause along the way to take notes. Terrestrial ecosystems are land-based. They include things like forests, grasslands, and deserts. Now, terrestrial ecosystems vary depending on the amount of rainfall or temperature that they have. So we can see from this image over here that if it's really cold with not much rainfall, we'll get a polar ecosystem. If it's very hot with lots of rainfall, we'll get a tropical ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystems are water-based, lakes, rivers, coral reefs. So the Great Barrier Reef is an aquatic ecosystem. The difference between aquatic ecosystems arise from variations in the amount of water that they have, the salinity or the saltiness, depth, and sunlight penetration. And we can see that in this image here. ATSI management strategies refer to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander management strategies, and there are more than 35 groups of ATSI people who have traditional links to the Great Barrier Reef. These links are social, cultural, and economic, and have existed for more than 50,000 years, so it's really important we give ATSI people a say in how the reef is managed. Torres Strait Islander people are seafaring people that belong to the islands between Australia and Papua New Guinea, and we know that the Great Barrier Reef stretches between those two countries, so it's important we have that cross-cultural management in place. ATSI people really believe they're not above the land, but they're part of it. They work with nature and act as stewards or caretakers for the areas. Because the Great Barrier Reef is an aquatic ecosystem, they refer to it as sea country and use it for activities such as fishing, hunting, and other cultural activities. Specific ATSI management strategies really revolve around inter- and intra-generational equity, making sure that the access to the reef is the same for people today as it will be in the future. The way that they go about this are through a few specific strategies. The first one is around setting size limits, where they won't take fish that are too small. They engage in seasonal hunting to make sure that species can recover. They maintain relatively small populations so that they don't place stress on the ecosystem. But one of the most popular and effective strategies is assigning animal totems, so that each group has a specific animal that represents them, and they will not hunt that animal. So it varies the hunting patterns across species. Conversely, contemporary management strategies are all about the here and now and what governments and groups are currently doing to try and protect the reef. In 1981, the Great Barrier Reef was declared as a World Heritage Site. Because of this, it gives the federal and state governments specific responsibilities when it comes to protecting the reef. The Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority is the main agency that advises the government on how to assist the reef and how to help the reef, and they release regular reports about the reef's health. The Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority covers a few specific strategies that are in place to help protect the reef. The first is zoning, and I spoke about this a little while ago, so I won't spend too much time on it. But really, zoning is just allocating specific areas of the reef to specific activities to make sure that some areas of the reef are always being protected. So, commercial fishing is only allowed in part of it. Tourism is only allowed in part of it. Scientific research is only allowed in part of it. And preliminary research is showing that it's being very effective. A second strategy is around anchors. Boat anchors for fishing and for tourism and for research have an impact on the reef. So by creating permanent moorings and permanent anchoring destinations, we're able to lessen the damage that there is on the reef, and zoning helps to determine where we can and can't do this. Tourism is a very intense activity on the reef. Tourism has many negative impacts, such as people souveniring and crushing coral, but in a moment I'm going to ask you to work on today's questions, but I want to quickly touch on the key terms you'll be asked to address. The first key term you'll be asked is to distinguish. Distinguish means just to show how things are different. Then you'll be asked to use the official words compare and contrast, which are NESA key terms. Compare is really important. It means to show how things are similar and different. And we've given you some sentence starters on there. So, how are contemporary and ATSI management strategies similar and how are they different? How is the Great Barrier Reef managed compared to the Belize Barrier Reef? How is it similar? How is it different? The second term there is just contrast, and contrast means to only show the differences. And you must make sure you read the term carefully, because if you're asked to compare and you only show how things are similar, you're not answering it correctly. However, if you are asked to contrast and you start talking about how things are similar, then you're not answering correctly. So it's really important to make sure you know the difference between the two terms and some words that will help you do that. Okay, that's it for today. I'll now ask you to attempt questions 17 to 19 on your Biomes Google Doc. Please make sure you submit done or complete to Schoolbox so that I know I can have a look at your work. Once I've had a look, I'll send you the sample answers and you can mark your answers. You then need to keep working on your ecosystems case study. See you next lesson.